Hey guys, it's Maya, and today I'm going to be doing the post DCP tag. So basically I just put together a whole bunch of questions that I thought would be helpful to people about to go on the college program who want a bit of advice. So the first question I thought I would answer is, what are my opinions on Transtar? Now, I don't have a car, so even if I wanted to bring one, I couldn't. Transtar is not as bad as people say it is, but it's still not great. Pause, Mom's calling me.
Oh.
I have to start over. Hello? Okay, yeah, opinions on Transtar. So, yeah, if you do have a car and you're considering bringing it, like you're not sure yet, 100% bring it. You will become everyone's best friend because everyone needs a ride because no one wants to ride the bus. It's super convenient for you, and obviously you have to pay money for gas, but a 15-minute drive to work in a car ends up taking me about 30 to 45 minutes, especially if you're going to work in Magic Kingdom. It becomes about an hour and a half, so keep that in mind. I became very familiar with the buses. There was a lot of times where it would break down or it would be late, but thankfully if you are late because of the buses, you won't get a point. It'll be excused because it's not your fault, so that's something to fall back on. The second question I came up with was to rank the The second question I came up with was to rank the apartment complexes. So I personally stayed in Commons, so I am a little bit biased. I do think the Commons is the best out of all of them. Of course, it all depends on your personal thing. Vista Way is the older one. It's not the nicest, but if you are someone who wants to have fun and kind of party while you're there, that's the one for you. And there's always buses there. It's a pro and a con because they're loud, so if you do room near where the buses were, like my friend Tish did, it's going to be a bit of a nuisance, but there's always going to be a bus running through there, so it's very convenient. Patterson is difficult because there's no bus stop at Patterson. The only bus that goes through there is the Walmart bus, and it's the farthest one away. So if you don't have a car, 100% Patterson should not be on your list. But it's very quiet and calm there. Everyone calls it like the old people's complex because there's not really much going on over there. My second best, I think, would be Chatham. All of the events happen there, so it's really convenient. You can just walk it over there. And that's where like the bus hub is. So there's always buses going through there as well. And then the Commons, of course, is the best because you get your own washer and dryer. And then it also has the Grid, which is a little convenience store that's actually in the Commons. It's right there. I would go and get my lunch for work there all the time, and I really depended on it. So yeah, the Commons is the best in my opinion, but it is the most expensive, so make sure you look into that. The third question is my opinion of my role and my location. So my role, if you don't already know, was merchandise, which I think is the best job in all of Disney World. It's where you can make the most magic with no strings and stuff like that. And you can also pick up anywhere on Disney property, anywhere that's a merchandise location. So for me, I worked in Disney Springs, and I picked up in Magic Kingdom to work at the Pirates of the Caribbean gift shop multiple times. So you can pick up anywhere. It's really easy, and I really enjoyed it. And of course, Disney Springs, I think I would have rather worked in a park, but I really grew to love Disney Springs because it was really chill and all the guests were really chill. It was kind of like working retail more than working at Disney, but it was still really fun because I got to work at the Star Wars store, and Star Wars is my favorite. The fifth question I came up with is, did I take any classes, whether they were Disney or classes with my university? So my university specifically does not take credit from Disney classes, but your university might, so make sure you look into that and message or email your advisor about that. But I wanted to take Disney Heritage just because I thought it would be fun. As someone who wants to work in film, it was interesting learning about Roy and Walt's start and how they got into this business. So I finished that. I really enjoyed that class. I thought it was really fun if you want to take Disney Heritage. And I also was taking 2 online classes with my university. I do have a major and a minor at my school, so it was important for me not to get behind. I only took 2 online classes, and even that was a bit hard, but let me say it like this, if you can spare a semester, I would recommend not taking classes because it did take up a few Sundays of mine where I couldn't go to the parks and I couldn't hang out with friends. because I had to take an exam or something like that. But if you think it will get you behind, just take an online class or two. A question I thought I would ask so that I could share some of my experience with you guys is highlights of work, like some of my favorite parts or experiences while I was working. And one thing that I always like to think about is one experience I had kind of near the end of my program. I was deployed to World of Disney for a week. I didn't have a choice in the matter. It just showed up on my schedule, and I had 7 days where I was working at World of Disney. So while I was over there, when you're pin trading, you can do trivia with the guests so that they can see your mystery pins. So there were these 2 kids, and they were with their parents, of course, and I was pin trading with them and doing trivia, and it was a really slow night, so I ended up standing and talking with them, just doing trivia back and forth for 20 minutes maybe. I was giving them trivia questions, and they were giving me trivia questions, and it was the most precious experience of my life. And the little boy was like, "Where are you going to be tomorrow?" And I was like, "Actually, I don't usually work here. I'll be back in the Star Wars store." And they're like, "Okay, we're going to come find you." And the dad's like, "Okay, sure, whatever. Thank you for talking to them." So they leave, and the next day I'm at the Star Wars store in Disney Springs. I'd completely forgotten about the experience. Like, I thought it was sweet, but it wasn't really on my mind. I didn't think they were actually going to come. And while I was at the register, the family came up to me and was like, "Hi." And I was shook. I was like, "Oh, hi, okay." So like I go out front and I'm talking to them, and what made the experience so magical was the amount of work they put into finding me, because they forgot that I said, oh wait, no, that's not true. In Disney Springs, there's 2 Star Wars stores. There's the Star Wars Trading Post and the Star Wars Galactic Outpost. I worked at the Outpost, but the Trading Post is closer to World of Disney. So they first went to the Trading Post and were asking for me. They couldn't find me. They ended up going back to World of Disney and looking there. They were checking all of these stores and they couldn't find me, and they were putting all this effort in just to say hi. And they finally come and they find me, and they told me about the whole debacle they had to go through. And I write his name out in the Star Wars language on a button for him. We do some more trivia, and they're leaving and I'm saying goodbye, and the dad turns to me and says, "Thank you for meaning so much to him." And it's a moment I'll never forget, because it was something so simple. Like, I literally was just playing trivia with these kids, but that's an experience that the parents and the child are going to hold on to for, I'm hoping, the rest of their lives or whenever they come to Disney. So besides the highlights of work, I thought I would also talk about highlights in the parks. Some of the most fun moments I had while I was in the Disney parks. One of these most exciting moments happened at the Christmas party. It was 11:50. The party ends at 12, and me and my friend Megan were trying to meet as many characters as possible. We had just finished meeting Ariel and Eric in Fantasyland, and the last person we still needed to meet was Moana, all the way in Adventureland. You know anything about Disney, those are opposite sides of the park. And we had 10 minutes to get there. My feet were killing me. They felt like I was stepping on knives because it had been a very long night. But we're like, let's just do it. So we run all the way to Adventureland. We've got 1 minute left, and we can kind of see there's the character attendants standing in front of the line, like blocking it. So we felt a little defeated, but Megan thankfully asked, "Hey, are you still letting people in?" And he was like, "You can be the last ones in if you ask nicely." So we were like, "Oh my gosh, can we meet Moana?" And he said yes, and we actually got to be the last people of the whole night to meet Moana, and it ended up being one of my favorite meet and greets, because we were the last people. She really didn't need to spend that much time with us. It had been a long night for Moana, I'm sure, but she talked to us for like 5-10 minutes and just made it an amazing experience. Another highlight would be meeting Ray at Hollywood Studios. For those of you who don't know, she does not meet regularly. I'm not even sure if she still meets. It's a very rare thing, and once I heard that she was meeting, like one time my roommate's mom met her. I ran to Hollywood Studios the next day. I wore my C-3PO ears, I wore my Ray shirt, I had the whole fit ready, I was ready to meet Ray, and I asked the character attendant if she was there, and she was kind of like, maybe, and I was really nervous, and she ended up, this same character attendant, came to the front of the line and made sure we were the last group in to meet Ray, and I cried because I met Ray, and it was just another thing that shows how a little thing a cast member does can stay with you forever, because I got to meet a character that was really important to me. I'll do one more. One more that was really important to me. On my last day in the parks, like literally that night, I started my drive home. Me and my roommate, Danielle, spent our last day in Hollywood Studios, which is our favorite park, and I have rode Star Tours 1,000,001 times. I love Star Wars. I work with Star Wars every day, but I'd never been the Rebel Spy, and on this last day, I think it's because I was wearing a Yoda beanie, it kind of made me stand out, but I got to be the Rebel Spy on my last day, and it was, again, something a cast member just like chose me in the crowd and was like, whatever, and probably didn't think about it again. But it being my last day and my last time riding Star Tours, I got really emotional on the ride because this was something I'd wanted and had been on my bucket list since the beginning of the program. So then I would talk about some hardships, because although I loved my program, there were definitely some parts that were hard. It is still work and you're away from home. So there's the hardest parts of work and then the hardest things I had to deal with like in life while I was there. For my program, they are very strict about calling out and no-call, no-shows. If you call out a certain number of times or if you are a no-call, no-show, you can be termed, and I want to work with the company in the future, so getting the least amount of points as possible was my priority. And I had distance learning set up on Mondays, so I almost never even checked my schedule on Mondays because technically I shouldn't be working. So I had a whole day planned with my friend Gwen and my friend Shannon, and we had gone to Magic Kingdom. We were having a great time. We were in line for Space Mountain, and I checked my schedule, and I was supposed to be at work an hour and a half ago. This is something I've been told can get you termed. Not showing up to work and not calling out. So I start freaking out. We're in line for Space Mountain, so like we ride Space Mountain, obviously. But I get off. Thankfully, Shannon, my friend I was with, is an alumni, so she kind of knew how to handle these situations. I called the mod phone, which is the manager on duty, and it was a coordinator that I'm really close with. So thankfully, she was like, okay, we're gonna figure this out. I don't want to get you in trouble. So I'm freaking out, having a panic attack in Magic Kingdom, and she's like, if you come to work right now, I think it'll be fine. So I sprint from Space Mountain all the way to where the buses are at the Contemporary, because the bus was coming in 10 minutes. If you know Disney, again, these are very far away from each other, but I made it on the bus. I ate, I showed up at work. I was 4 hours late. But again, luckily, the leader there that night was also one of the kindest people I've met in my entire life, and he fixed my schedule so that I wasn't getting in trouble and that I was still getting paid for at least the hours that I was there. They let me extend, so I wasn't getting paid nothing. But it was one of those things that was really hard because it is such a strict job, but then it was also something that was nice. So make sure you get close with your coordinators and your leaders, because you never know when a situation like this could happen. I don't know if I want to talk about it. I was going to talk about like the hardest things I had to deal with in life that I had to deal with on the program. But the main thing is Hurricane Irma happened when we were in Florida. So know that if you are doing the college program in Florida specifically, hurricanes happen. November is known as hurricane season. So make sure you are prepared and know what to do in case of an emergency. My uncle lives 45 minutes away from where we were staying and a little bit more east, and Irma was coming up more west. So I got to go and stay with him, and I took 2 of my roommates with me. So make sure you have an emergency plan set in place just in case something bad like this happens. So another thing I thought I should mention are some regrets I have from the program. These are things I want you guys to think about and These are things I want you guys to think about in the sense of, oh, she regretted that, I'll keep that in mind. I regretted putting things off until it was too late. There was a lot of rides I never ended up riding, a few shows I never ended up seeing, a few places I never got to eat at, just because you're like, oh, I'll ride it next time I'm here. Oh, I'll see it next time I'm here. And you keep saying that, and before you know it, it's your last week in the parks and you're scheduled every day. So make sure you grab those chances while you can and do those things every opportunity you get. Another regret I had was not picking up enough shifts in other locations. Like I said before, this is a huge perk of being merchandise, and you should take full advantage of it. I worked in Disney Springs, so I was very, very intimidated when it came to working in the parks because they're completely different atmospheres. Disney Springs is much chiller than it is in the parks. When I finally did pick up, it was only when I had a month left in my program, but I was able to pick up twice at the Pirates gift shop in Magic Kingdom, and they were two of my favorite shifts of all time. So it's scary, I know, but try and pick up in different locations, especially if you don't work in the parks, because working in the parks is so magical. Just post on the Facebook group page and ask, hey, I'm picking up here, where should I clock in, where are the lockers? Just ask questions like that so you go in prepared, and even when you're nervous, it'll all pay off in the end. Another regret I had was not planning vacations ahead of time. So with your Blue ID, you can get into any Disney park for free. This includes Disneyland, California. It's very hard to get time off at Disney. This is something I had to deal with multiple times with family coming down. Just trying to get one day off became a whole situation, and it was really difficult. So if you want to go to Disneyland or any of the other Disney parks at some point on your program, ask for those days off the moment you get accepted. Even if you don't end up going, you can pick up shifts later, but it's nice to just pick a random week, ask for it off, and then go to Disneyland or take that week to go home and visit your family. If you want time off, ask for it the moment you get accepted because it's hard to get those days off the closer they get. Another thing I wanted to talk about was things you will regret not doing if you don't. So these are things that I did and I took advantage of, but they're important and I want you guys to take advantage of them as well. No matter how tired you are, how I just want to stay in bed all day and watch a movie you feel, go to the parks every chance you get. You're not going to get bored of them, I promise. I went to the parks, I can't even count how many times, even just going to Universal. Take advantage of these things. It's something you're going to regret if you don't do. Because then, I'm such a mess.
You gotta get it together.
I know. Because then you reach the end of your program, and that last 2 weeks, you're scheduled every day and the hours are crazy. You will not have time to go to the parks. So make sure you're taking advantage of that time you have when you're training and you have a lot of days off, or you have days where you finally don't have 10 hours and you can go before or after your shift. Go to the parks. Even if you have to go alone, go to the parks. Another thing I would suggest doing is vlogging on your program. I didn't vlog a lot, but they are vlogs I look back at all the time. It's where I can reminisce about my time on the program, and they genuinely just make me really happy. It doesn't matter, I'm not doing it for views. Obviously, you've seen how many views they get. It's for me personally, and it's just a place where I can put all of those memories together. Another piece of advice in this Another piece of advice in this category would be not to vlog too often. I felt like sometimes when I was vlogging, I was taking away from the experience I was having at the time. So try only vlogging special occasions you really want to remember. I maybe only have 10 vlogs, but that was because I didn't want to take away from certain experiences I was having. Like when I went to the Christmas party, I didn't want to vlog it because I was wanting to meet characters and I didn't want to worry about my phone dying and not being able to take pictures. So if you want to vlog, make sure it just doesn't consume your whole life. Another piece of advice I would give to you is to go to as many special events you can go to. This was something I struggled with in the beginning because these things do cost money and we are getting paid minimum wage. But things like the Halloween and Christmas party at Disney. The Halloween party, thankfully my parents paid for, so that was a privilege that I got to go to. I almost didn't go to the Christmas party, and the Christmas party ended up being one of the main highlights of my program. But it's one of those things, just pay the money, use your discount, get that discount, go to Company D, get the price chopped. It's something that when you go home, you're not going to be like, oh, I wish I hadn't paid that $100 going to that party. You're going to just remember the memories you've had when you were there. Also, Halloween Horror Nights. Don't sleep on Universal. Buy an annual pass to Universal. Go to Horror Nights. I went twice. I almost didn't go the second time. The second time was super fun. So make sure you take advantage of these parties. Even though they cost money, you're gonna make memories that you'll hold on to for a lifetime. Last thing you will definitely regret if you don't do is making friends with your coworkers. Now I know it depends on your job how easy it will be to make friends with your coworkers. If you're attractions, I can see how it can be difficult because you're in this high safety environment where you can't really goof off. But if you do have the chance where you can talk to your coworkers, do so. During my programs, for like the first month, everyone kind of talked and was nice to each other, but we didn't hang out outside of the parks. But thankfully, my very close friend Omar made a group chat for all of the West Side. There was about 25 of us in this group chat, and those 25 people became my family. You go to the parks with them, you can trade shifts with them. Besides my roommates, obviously, it was so hard to say goodbye to them, but now I can say I have friends all across the country and all across the world. I have friends in New Zealand, friends in Australia. This is the biggest piece of advice I think I can give. Put in the effort to become friends with your coworkers because these are the people that will make your program special. So overall, this experience, it's going to be different for everyone. There are people who hate it because they didn't like their role. There are people who hate it because they didn't like their roommates, etc., etc. This experience was the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. I have work experience. Disney on your resume is honestly the best thing you can have. They don't care what you did there or if it's relevant to what you're applying for. If you are applying for something and Disney's on your resume, you're probably getting that job. But yeah, I do want to work with Disney in the future. I'm planning on doing the summer alumni program next year and applying for a professional internship when I graduate. It's, again, going to be different for everyone, but if you can apply and you can take the semester off, do it and you will not regret it. Thank you so much for following my experience through my vlogs and for subscribing, and I hope this can help you guys out. If you want to, comment below with questions that you want answered or if you want any more advice. Thank you guys.